Have you ever found yourself thinking about that one person over and over again? Maybe it's an ex you haven't spoken to in years. Maybe it's a crush who barely knows you exist, or even someone you only met once. Yet for some reason, they've taken up permanent residency in your mind. And no matter what you do, work, social media, even meditation, they just won't go away. It's like they're living rent-free in your thoughts, and you're stuck wondering, why? What if I told you this isn't random? What if it's not just your heart playing tricks on you or your brain glitching out? According to Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant minds in modern psychology, there's a deeper reason why someone keeps appearing in your thoughts. And here's the twist, it might not even be about them at all. Jung believed that when someone lingers in your mind, it's a signal from your unconscious. Your thoughts aren't obsessed with that person, they're obsessed with something they represent, something about you. Maybe they remind you of a part of yourself that you've been ignoring. Maybe they've triggered a buried memory or an emotion you've pushed down. Or maybe, just maybe, they're showing you a side of yourself that you're ready to uncover. But here's the thing, Jung's theories go even deeper than that. You see, he believed that we all have what's called a shadow self, a part of our psyche we keep hidden from the world, even hidden from ourselves. The people who stick in our minds might actually be reflections of that shadow. Ever notice how you're drawn to someone's confidence when you feel insecure? Or how someone's creativity seems magnetic when you're stuck in a routine? That's your shadow speaking. It's not them you're obsessed with. It's a part of yourself that you're craving to awaken. And if that sounds a little too mysterious, wait until you hear about Jung's idea of synchronicity. Ever think about someone, only for them to text you moments later? Or bump into someone unexpectedly after they've been on your mind for weeks? Jung believed that these meaningful coincidences were no accident. They're clues from your unconscious mind, guiding you toward a deeper understanding of yourself. So, the next time someone pops into your thoughts and refuses to leave, don't brush it off as random. Because it's not about them. It's about you. Let's dive in. So, who exactly is Carl Jung? And why should we care about what he had to say about the people living rent-free in our minds? Well, if you've ever dived into psychology, you've probably heard of Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. But what a lot of people don't realize is that Carl Jung was Freud's protege until they had a major falling out. Why? Because Jung dared to take psychology in a whole new direction, one that wasn't just about our childhood traumas or repressed desires, but about something much deeper, our unconscious mind and its role in shaping who we are. Jung wasn't just a psychologist, he was a pioneer of self-discovery. His ideas weren't just about treating mental illness, they were about understanding the human experience on a profound level. He believed that every single one of us has untapped parts of our psyche that, if explored, can unlock who we truly are. And here's where it gets fascinating. Jung proposed that much of what goes on in our minds happens below the surface. Think of your mind like an iceberg. The small part sticking out of the water, that's your conscious mind, your everyday thoughts, the things you're aware of. But beneath the surface is a massive, unseen chunk of ice, your unconscious mind. And according to Jung, that's where the real action happens. Your unconscious holds your deepest fears, desires, emotions, and memories, things you might not even realize are influencing your thoughts and behavior. And when someone keeps popping up in your mind, it's often because they've triggered something buried in that unconscious realm. But here's the kicker. Jung didn't just stop at saying we have an unconscious mind. He argued that the people we think about, especially those we can't seem to get out of our heads, often represent parts of ourselves that we need to acknowledge. Think about that for a second. The person you can't stop thinking about might be a symbol of something you admire, desire, or even fear within yourself. They're not just a random face in your mental highlight reel, they're a mirror. And this is where Jung's most famous theories come into play. He introduced concepts like the shadow self, which is all the parts of ourselves that we reject or suppress because they don't fit our ideal image. He also talked about the Anima and Animus, which are the feminine and masculine aspects of our inner world that shape how we relate to others. And of course, there's his mind-blowing idea of synchronicity, those seemingly random coincidences that feel too perfect to be accidental. Here's the thing. Jung believed that if we can understand these psychological forces, we can stop being victims of our thoughts and start using them as tools for personal growth. So why does this matter for you? Because if you've ever found yourself obsessing over someone, wondering why you can't stop thinking about them, why they seem to appear in your life at just the right moments, or why your emotions feel so overwhelming, Jung's theories might hold the answer. And that's exactly what we're going to explore. We'll dive into the idea of the shadow self, why it's crucial to face it, and how the people in your thoughts might be showing you parts of yourself that you've been avoiding. We'll unpack the Anima and Animus to understand how your inner world shapes your relationships. And we'll break down the concept of synchronicity, revealing how meaningful coincidences are actually calls to action from your unconscious mind. By the end of this video, you'll see those obsessive thoughts in a whole new light. You'll realize it's not about the person you're fixated on, it's about you. Because, as Jung famously said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So, are you ready to stop letting your thoughts control you and start taking control of your mind? Let's dive into the fascinating world of Carl Jung's psychology. Let's start with the foundation of Carl Jung's work, the unconscious mind. Imagine your mind is an iceberg. The part you see above water, that's your conscious mind. It's what you're aware of, your thoughts, feelings, daily worries, and decisions. But beneath the surface is an enormous chunk of ice you don't see, and that's your unconscious mind. And here's the thing, that hidden part of the iceberg isn't just sitting there doing nothing. It's actively shaping your thoughts, behaviors, and even your relationships without you realizing it. Jung believed that the unconscious mind holds everything we've ever experienced, memories, emotions, and even desires we've forgotten or repressed. And when someone keeps showing up in your thoughts, it's often because they've triggered something buried deep in that unconscious realm. Let me give you an example. Have you ever met someone who said just the right thing to stir up an old memory or emotion you hadn't thought about in years? Maybe they remind you of a past relationship, a childhood experience, or even a part of yourself you've long ignored. That's your unconscious mind saying, hey, this is important, pay attention. Jung would say that these thoughts aren't just random. They're messages. Your mind is trying to tell you something through that person. But here's the tricky part. We're often too busy with the noise of daily life to notice. Think about how much time we spend scrolling through social media, binge watching shows, or worrying about our to-do lists. We rarely take the time to sit with our thoughts and ask, what is my mind trying to tell me? According to Jung, when someone occupies your thoughts, it's not a coincidence. It's a wake-up call from your unconscious mind, asking you to explore something deeper within yourself. So the next time you find yourself fixated on someone, don't brush it off as meaningless. Instead, ask yourself, what part of my unconscious mind are they waking up? What memory, emotion, or desire are they bringing to the surface? And that brings us to the next piece of the puzzle, a concept that might sound a little spooky at first, but it's actually one of the most powerful tools for self-discovery, the shadow self. Now, let's talk about one of Carl Jung's most famous and most misunderstood ideas, the shadow self. When you hear the word shadow, you might think of something dark, mysterious, or even scary. But in Jungian psychology, the shadow isn't something to fear. It's something to explore. So what exactly is the shadow self? Jung described it as the part of your personality that you've repressed, denied, or ignored, because it doesn't fit your ideal image of yourself. For example, let's say you see yourself as a calm, composed person, but deep down, you've got a fiery temper that you've been suppressing for years. That anger becomes part of your shadow. Or maybe you've always thought of yourself as independent, but there's a part of you that craves connection and intimacy. that need for closeness might get pushed into your shadow too. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Jung believed that the people who stick in your mind, the ones you can't stop thinking about, often represent parts of your shadow self. Let me give you a couple of examples. Imagine there's someone you admire for their confidence and boldness. But deep down, you struggle with self-doubt and insecurity. That person might be representing the part of you that wants to be more confident, but you've been too afraid to embrace. On the flip side, someone might annoy you to no end because they embody traits you refuse to admit you have, like arrogance or impulsiveness. You see, we often dislike in others what we secretly dislike about ourselves. It's like your unconscious mind is holding up a mirror, saying, hey, this person is showing you a part of yourself that you need to acknowledge. Jung taught that facing your shadow is one of the most important steps in personal growth. Because until you acknowledge those hidden parts of yourself, they'll keep influencing your thoughts and actions without you even realizing it. So the next time someone occupies your mind, whether it's admiration or irritation, ask yourself, what part of my shadow are they reflecting? What part of myself am I ready to confront? Because as Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And speaking of confronting hidden parts of yourself, let's move on to Jung's concepts of the Anima and Animus. These are powerful ideas that shape how we relate to others and how we project our inner world onto the people around us. Now, let's dive into two of Jung's most intriguing concepts, the Anima and Animus. In Jungian psychology, the Anima represents the inner feminine within men, while the Animus represents the inner masculine within women. But don't get too caught up in gender. These ideas are more symbolic than literal. Here's what Jung meant. We all have both masculine and feminine energies within us. The Anima is associated with qualities like empathy, intuition, and emotional depth, while the Animus represents logic, strength, and decisiveness. And Jung believed that these inner forces play a huge role in how we relate to others, especially in relationships. Here's where it gets fascinating. Jung believed that when you find yourself fixated on someone, it's often because they resonate with your inner anima or animus. For example, if a man is drawn to a woman's emotional depth, it might be because it mirrors a part of himself that he hasn't fully embraced. Or, if a woman is fascinated by a man's confidence and strength, it could be because those are qualities she's seeking to develop within herself. But here's the twist. Jung also warned that the Anima and Animus can create illusions. Sometimes we don't see people as they truly are. We see them as our unconscious wants them to be. This is what Jung called projection. Think about it. Have you ever fallen for someone, only to realize later that they weren't who you thought they were? That's because your unconscious mind was projecting your inner desires onto them, creating an idealized image that didn't match reality. Understanding this dynamic can be a total game changer. Instead of asking, "Why am I obsessed with this person?" you can start asking, "What part of me are they awakening? Are they showing you a part of yourself you need to embrace? Or are you projecting an idealized version of them because of something you're craving internally?" Jung believed that by recognizing these projections, we can take back control of our thoughts and emotions. Because at the end of the day, it's not about them. It's about you. And that brings us to one of Jung's most mind-blowing ideas, synchronicity. Those mysterious coincidences that feel too perfect to be random, but might actually be meaningful signs from your unconscious mind. Have you ever been thinking about someone, and then they suddenly text you? Or maybe you've been daydreaming about someone for weeks, only to bump into them unexpectedly at a random coffee shop. It feels like the universe is playing some kind of cosmic joke, right? Carl Jung didn't think these moments were random at all. He called them synchronicity, or meaningful coincidences. Unlike cause and effect events, synchronicity doesn't follow a logical sequence. Instead, it's all about meaning. Jung defined synchronicity as two seemingly unrelated events that align in a way that feels significant. It's like life is sending you a message through coincidences. But here's the twist. It's not just the universe playing tricks on you. Jung believed that your own unconscious mind plays a role in creating these meaningful moments. Let me explain. Your unconscious mind is constantly processing thoughts, feelings, and desires, even if you're not aware of them. And sometimes, those unconscious thoughts become so powerful that they seem to influence your external reality. For example, let's say someone has been on your mind a lot lately. You haven't talked to them in months, but suddenly they text you. Is that just a random coincidence? Or is it possible that your unconscious focus on them somehow drew them back into your life? Now, this isn't about magic or mystical forces. Jung believed that synchronicity happens when your inner world, your thoughts and emotions, aligns with your outer world in a meaningful way. It's a moment where your unconscious mind and reality seem to sync up. But here's where it gets interesting. Jung believed that synchronicity isn't just something that happens to you. It's something that calls for your attention. It's like a nudge from the universe saying, hey, there's something important you need to learn here. Maybe that person you've been thinking about represents an unresolved emotion, a hidden desire, or a part of yourself you've been ignoring. Synchronicity is a way of bringing those unconscious thoughts to the surface. And here's the important part. Jung saw synchronicity as a call to action. It's not just about noticing the coincidence, it's about asking why it happened. Why did that person show up in your life again? What is your unconscious mind trying to tell you? What emotional or psychological pattern is playing out? The next time you experience synchronicity, don't just shrug it off as random luck. Take a moment to reflect on what it could mean. Because in Jung's view, those coincidences aren't accidents. They're opportunities for growth. They're clues from your unconscious mind, helping you move toward greater self-awareness. So what's the universe, or more accurately, your mind, trying to tell you? And that leads us to the final part of this deep dive: how to actually decode those obsessive thoughts and use them as a tool for personal transformation. All right, now that we've covered the unconscious mind, the shadow self, and synchronicity, you might be wondering, okay, but what do I actually do about someone who won't leave my thoughts? Well, Jung's ideas aren't just fascinating theories. They're practical tools for self-awareness and growth. Here's a simple 3-step process to help you decode your thoughts and figure out what your mind is really trying to tell you. Step 1. Reflect. Start by asking yourself, what emotions come up when I think about this person? Are you inspired by their confidence? Frustrated by their aloofness? Drawn to their sense of adventure? The key is to pinpoint the exact feelings that come up when you think about them, because those emotions are clues. For example, if you feel admiration, it could mean that person represents a quality you wish to develop in yourself. If you feel frustration, they might be reflecting a part of you that you've been ignoring or suppressing. Step 2. Analyze. Once you've identified the emotions, dig a little deeper. Ask yourself, what do these feelings say about me? For instance, if you admire someone's creativity, it might be because you're craving more creative expression in your own life. Or if their rejection hurts more than it should, it could be highlighting an old wound around self-worth. Journaling or meditating on these questions can be really helpful here. The goal is to understand what part of your unconscious mind is being triggered. Step 3. Act. Now, this is the most important part. Take action based on what you've learned. If you've realized that you're craving more confidence, start taking steps to build it. If you've discovered a hidden fear or unresolved emotion, take time to process it and heal. Remember, this isn't about changing the other person. It's about transforming yourself. And that's the beauty of Jung's work. When you stop obsessing over someone else and start focusing on what your mind is trying to tell you, you turn an endless mental loop into a powerful tool for personal growth. Because as Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So don't let your thoughts control you. Take control of your thoughts. The people who linger in your mind are often the keys to your own growth. Take a deep breath, dive in, and discover what your unconscious mind has been trying to tell you all along. Because in the end, it's not about them. It's about you. Now that we've explored the fascinating world of Carl Jung's theories, from the unconscious mind to the shadow self, Anima and Animus, and even Synchronicity, the big question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Here's the truth: we've all had moments when someone gets stuck in our head and we feel powerless to stop it. But after learning about Jung's ideas, you now have a different perspective. That person who keeps showing up in your thoughts, they're not there by accident. They're not some random mental glitch. They're a mirror. They're reflecting back a part of you, a hidden desire, an unresolved emotion, or a part of yourself that you've been ignoring. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you can stop feeling stuck and start growing. So here's my challenge for you. The next time someone keeps popping into your thoughts, don't ask, why can't I stop thinking about them? Instead, ask, what part of myself are they reflecting? What is my unconscious mind trying to tell me? You see, the people who linger in our thoughts, whether it's admiration or irritation, are keys to our personal growth. And Jung believed that unlocking those keys could change the course of your life. But it doesn't stop there. Jung also taught us that synchronicities, those strange, meaningful coincidences, aren't just random events. They're nudges from the universe or from your unconscious mind to pay attention. So, if you're experiencing synchronicities, don't just shrug them off. Reflect on them. Ask yourself, what message am I supposed to receive? Because when you make the unconscious conscious, you stop living on autopilot. You stop being a victim of your thoughts and start taking control of your life. And here's where it gets really powerful. Once you start decoding your thoughts, you'll notice that the people who used to haunt your mind suddenly have less power over you. You'll stop obsessing over them, and instead you'll use those thoughts as a roadmap for personal transformation. Think of it this way: every thought, every emotion, every coincidence, they're like breadcrumbs leading you toward a deeper understanding of yourself. And when you follow those breadcrumbs, you uncover parts of yourself that you didn't even know were there. Now, let me ask you this. Are you ready to dive deeper into your own mind? Are you ready to turn those obsessive thoughts into opportunities for growth? Are you ready to stop letting your thoughts control you and start using them to unlock your true potential? If this video resonated with you, I want you to do two things. First, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. We're diving deep into topics that help you unlock your mind, your potential, and your path to personal transformation. And second, leave a comment below. Tell me, have you ever experienced synchronicity? Have you ever had someone stuck in your head and you couldn't figure out why? I'd love to hear your stories, and I'm sure others would too. Because the more we share these experiences, the more we realize that we're all on a journey of self-discovery. And here's my final thought. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." The people who live rent-free in your mind aren't distractions. They're invitations to awaken. So don't ignore them. Don't fight them. Instead, ask yourself, what part of myself are they helping me see? Because in the end, it's not about them. It's about you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep exploring, keep reflecting, and keep growing.